Hello and welcome to our final Rock Sound Awards podcast powered by EMP.co.uk. Can't believe we've reached the end. It's been an absolute trip. Had such a good time doing this. It's been so exciting. I'm Will Cross, junior editor at the magazine and the host of our weekly Friday podcast. Before we do anything else, final plug, awards.rocksound.tv. Head there now to order your Rock Sound Awards bundle. Pick up all 10 of our very special limited edition Rock Sound Award covers featuring all 10 of our award winners. Absolutely amazing. Also featuring exclusive interviews and photos, posters from their Rock Sound Awards cover shoots, a 2018 calendar, Rock Sound Awards sticker, the top 50 releases of 2017. So much more. So much to get involved with. Awards.rocksound.tv. We're so proud of this, and shout out to all the bands involved. But there's still one more chat to go, and it's a big one. So our album of the year, this is a huge award, and we've been talking to you guys throughout the year about your favourite albums of the year, and you guys have come out in your droves about this album consistently since it came out in June. That band are All Time Low. That album is Last Young Renegade. An absolute classic in the making. We caught up with Alex Gaskarth about the album, and sometimes when you talk to bands, you're talking, or most of the time, you're talking about a range of different things. So it was great to be able to talk to Alex about one specific thing, in this case, Last Young Renegade, and to dive completely into the ins and outs of everything to do with it, right from its inception, right through to its release. So exciting. So here we go. Here's the amazing Alex Gaskarth on the creation, the writing, and the release of Last Young Renegade, a classic in the making. Last Young Renegade is the Rock Sound album of the year. How does it feel to have won?
Hey, that's amazing. It feels great. That is so cool. Thank you guys for the nomination and the award. No, it feels good. We put a lot of time and effort and sweat and stress and tears and all of the things that go into making a record into this one. And it was, it was a bit different. We took a couple chances and, I feel like it really paid off. I think it took this band to a new place, and now we're in a place where things are more exciting than ever because it's sort of it set us up for a future of all kinds of new music, which is exciting.
Awesome, man. Well, it's an absolute pleasure. As I say, couldn't have gone to a more deserving album. So, to kind of start at the beginning, when you were starting to put the ideas down for the album, what spurred the ideas for it in the first place? Because obviously we talked about you exploring many different parts of your sound across your career. How did it come to be? Is it something that you really wanted to do for a while? Or, tell us how it began.
Really, it sort of happened very naturally. We started writing pretty early on. We were still kind of closing out the Future Hearts record cycle when I started writing new material. And I think a big component was the fact that I just started writing with no target, I didn't really have a goal in mind, but I just started, piecing songs together and coming up with new ideas. And I think it was that sort of freedom, the creative freedom to just do whatever and try whatever, that sort of made for a change in direction and a bit of a pull towards doing some different things. And it was, it was a little further down the line that we realized, we had this handful of songs coming together that sounded like something else. It still sounded like All Time Low, but it sounded like, All Time Low adjacent, at least to what we had done previously on the last two records. So, it was very exciting. It was also a little scary, because any time that you start going down that road, I think naturally question it as well, as far as the last two records have been working. So do we want to do this? Do we want to kind of do we want to sidestep? Do we want to make a change or come out with something a bit different? But, I think at the end of the day, everything felt so fully formed and everything felt very realized. And as we were writing and demoing things out, it all just felt so natural that to kind of fight against it and try to push it back towards being something else or getting it back, quote unquote, in a wheelhouse of maybe, what felt more familiar, it kind of took all the songs off the rails. If we ever attempted to do that, it just didn't feel right and it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't scratching, my creative itch, and I don't think it was scratching the itch of the other guys either. I remember, playing them a handful of early demos and everybody was kind of on the same page of we were all sort of feeling this, we needed to go somewhere a little different this time on some songs. And yeah, it was really lucky that it worked out that way, because I think, if it doesn't happen naturally, then I think you run the risk of making the wrong move. But, when everybody's loving it and it's just happening as it's supposed to, then I think, that's when you're on the right track.
Yeah, definitely. So there was no kind of arguing between you guys. Everyone was very, very much on the same plane in how the songs were forming and coming out.
Yeah, it was, again, I'd say we got really lucky, and I think everybody was in the same headspace creatively as far as wanting to do something a bit different and take some risks. I don't think that, there were definitely some songs that went too far one way or the other. But the beauty of it was that we all sort of recognized it. When it felt wrong, it didn't take one person screaming and banging their hands on the table to like put a stop to it. It was kind of one of those things where we would all sort of go down the road for a minute, and then, we'd hit a roadblock, and everybody would sort of look at each other in the studio and kind of be like, this one's not working, is it? And we were all sort of like, oh yeah, I know. I was totally thinking the same thing. So it was like, it was very much, it was very cooperative and not, it wasn't pulling teeth to kind of try the new ideas.
Awesome, yeah, 'cause as well, you mentioned about, coming off the back of Future Hearts as well, which is a huge success. There must have been quite a lot of pressure there. It's also your first time back with a major label. How was it in that sense? Because obviously you had Dirty Work on a major, and we chatted about it last time. Did it feel like you were kind of going into the major label world again, but with a lot more experience and kind of confidence from that? Was it a much more positive kind of entry into that world again?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we definitely, signing the new deal, we knew 100 times more than we did the first time around. But to be honest, it was also very different circumstances. I mean, the first time we signed to a major, it was we were still in a contract with another label, and it was, that whole slippery, awkward process of being, bought out of a contract and moved over and shuffled into a new system that was falling apart at the time. We've talked about that a million times over, but this time it was like, we just had no contract. We were unsigned. So, we had fulfilled our obligations to Hopeless, and there was no bad blood there or no awkwardness, no animosity, no us going to them and being like, hey, we want to try something different. It was kind of like the ball was in our court, and everybody was okay with whatever we wanted to do. So that, to begin with, that made everything so much better, because there was no, there was just no tension. There was no awkwardness around the decision or the process. And then, as far as signing with a major, we signed with Fueled by Ramen. And so, while they do kind of fall under the blanket of a major label and the Atlantic Warner system, like they're an indie label. They run like an indie label. They're a small, intimate team of people that really give a shit about their artists and their music, and they always have. And that's what really drew us to Fueled by Ramen. I think I've said this before in talking to you about how, they were actually the first label we ever showcased for years ago when John Janik was there, and they were based out of Florida. And it didn't work out that time around, but this time around, it came up again, and we still know half the people that worked there at the time, and got acquainted with the new people, and it felt just as good as, over 10 years ago when we did it the first time. And so, it just kind of all made sense. The stars aligned, and everybody was on the same page. I think what was really interesting, like hindsight being 2020, was, we put out a slightly different sounding record. And I remember when we first started rolling out songs, we led with Dirty Laundry, and that's arguably one of the probably more left of center songs on the record as far as all-time low catalog goes. And I remember like seeing the responses to it. And at first I was really, stoked to see that most people were really into it, but there was always, there were always the people going like, great, this is what happens when a band changes labels. The label makes them change their sound, et cetera, et cetera. And, we kind of had to laugh because it was like, we knew this was going to happen, like we signed this new deal and we make a slightly different record. And then, you're cursed to have some people triggered by it that want to say, they've sold out. They're being manipulated by the new system. It's like, no, it's not how it works. And we had half of the songs written when we signed there. But what was great about Fueled by and what is great about them is it was actually the complete opposite. They didn't impose anything on us. They had, they were really passionate about the vision that we went in and sat down with them to talk about. The first couple of meetings involved us explaining to them that it was like, look, we feel like All Time Low is in a place now where we're ready to grow and do some new things. We don't just want to come in and make, So Wrong It's Right 2.0. That's not where we're at. So if that's the kind of band you're looking for, this isn't the right partnership. And they were like, no, like, you guys need to do you, and that was what was so appealing about them, is that they've been so supportive of where we are creatively and where we are as a band now. And they were, they're interested in the future and building it out rather than kind of, sticking to the basics, which, might be the easy way out, but is ultimately, I don't think, sustainable for bands when they do that for too long. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's a great family, and they have their shit together over there.
Amazing. So when the songs themselves started to take shape, obviously, you'd already written parts of the record before you signed, that sort of thing. So when you were actually in the studio, being a really positive process, was it quite an intense process as well? Because, we've chatted before about there's so much going on the album. You tried so many different things. Did that lead to quite an intense process in terms of, wanting to get everything absolutely bang on?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because, one of the main reasons being that we had written a lot of these songs at different times. And so, we had probably 40, 50 songs going into the studio.
Oh, wow.
And whittling that down to 10 is no easy process. And it's like getting the right ones that gel together and make for a body of work that is relatable from front to back. That's the trickiest part. And so I think a lot of the stress kind of stemmed from, or the pressure in the studio stemmed from trying to make all the pieces fit, because it's easy to write a song or many songs, but it's not as easy to get them all to play nice together in the context of an album and an as the kids call it, an era of, for the band. So it's like we were kind of building this aesthetic and trying to come up with, a uniform sound for the album. And that's kind of where the kind of character piece and the story came together, because we had these songs, like, maybe 4 songs that really felt like they could act as cornerstones for the record. And that was Good Times, Last Young Renegade, Dirty Laundry. And, I guess at the time it was Life of the Party. And, those 4 were kind of like, okay, these are all very different songs, but they're all really, we thought really good, strong songs and kind of sounds like you could build something around this. And so from there, we kind of used those 4 as the kind of the stepping stones to get the rest of the songs and pull them all together and figure out, what songs felt right and what didn't. And it was really cool because, chasing that down and kind of going back and listening to old songs that we had recorded, like, the demo version of Dirty Laundry, for example. And then we're like, okay, there's a synth on there that we could pull in and use on Nice to Know You, and that would make those 2 songs gel a little better. And that was a lot of the process. We've never really done it that way before, as far as, spreading textures out across the whole body of work to make things feel connected. And I think that really helped as well. I think that kind of made it that much easier to see the big picture.
Amazing. So to go inside that kind of cohesion, that you were pulling together for the album, Good Times, so like you mentioned, and Life of the Party, Life of the Party is almost like a club banger, and Good Times could be, a chart pop radio hit, but then there's so much other types of stuff going on across the album. Despite the pressures of kind of getting that to be cohesive, that must have been so exciting at the same time, because did it feel like you were genuinely kind of breaking new ground?
For us, it certainly did. It was one of the first records where we really made a conscious decision to not just lay in walls of guitars and, the bread and butter, I guess. It was sort of like a, every time we record something that felt easy, we would sort of stop and question it. Not in like a foolish way, like not in a, this is good, but let's scrap it anyway, but more just like, so the obvious thing to do here is play a D power chord and then a G power chord, and you know what I mean? And instead of, when that felt like the logical way to go, it was like, no, let's stop, let's dial it back, and let's figure out a better way to accomplish that feel, but by doing something we've never done before. And so, that's kind of where we started pulling in the analog synths, and we went to this insane gear shop in Studio City in California, and rented and bought a ton of weird guitar pedals that I'd never even heard of before, and just sat there for hours, like coming up with sounds, trying to make things sound like they're not supposed to sound, singing guitar solos into a pickup and then blasting it through a, compressor and an amp, and seeing how that turned out. It's just shit we had never really done before. And it was fun and creative, and at times kind of whack and goofy, and we didn't use all of it, but it made the process feel really exciting again. And I think it put us in a, we all grew as musicians because of it. And I think when it's your 7th album, if you can do things to make you grow, and not get too comfortable, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. As well, it sounds like you were really kind of stepping out your comfort zone across the board. I mean, you've got songs as well like Nice to Know You and Drugs and Candy as well that are kind of classic all-time low bangers as well. Like, were you being sure to kind of not leave fans totally in the dark and sort of still leave a few things that were sort of more quintessential all-time low in there too?
Absolutely. I mean, in a way, yes. It's I don't know that it was so much a conscious thing of going like, well, I hope we don't leave people behind. I think it was just more that, we started seeing the collection of songs come together, and at times we were like, okay, there's not enough tempo. There's not enough, drive. There's not enough, we need those moments still, because at the end of the day, what it all comes down to for us is our live show. And, we don't want to put out a record that's 10 or 12 songs of slow jams. It's like, it's just not really conducive to what All Time Low has always been about. So, even if it's slightly more spread out or more dynamic, on this record, it was still really important to us to, go after the right field and at the right times, Drugs and Candy was actually written super late in the writing recording process. And it was because it felt like at the beginning of the record, we didn't have enough of that energy and that tempo. And so, it just kind of, we were like, we need one more to kind of slot in at track 2 or 3 to kind of give us that quintessential, okay, this is an All Time Low record.
Awesome. Yeah, 'cause as well, on the other side of the fence as well, you guys got Tegan and Sarah on Ground Control. Where did that come from? Was it that, because, I mean, obviously you've had guest features across your albums before, but I'd say this was like the most out there you've done to date. How did Tegan and Sarah get involved?
Well, to be honest, it was kind of a stroke of luck, because we didn't really know them. I think we'd crossed paths with them maybe a couple times, but we didn't really have a pre-existing relationship. And that song, Ground Control, was one that I was really, really fond of. For a long time, right up until the last minute, we didn't even know if it was going to make the record, because we knew that it needed a feature. We knew that it was kind of written with that in mind. When we wrote it originally, we had a female sing the chorus part, because it was sort of always meant that way, and intended that way, but then we didn't really know who to actually have appear on it, and it wasn't until, we thought about it, and Jack and I have been listening to Tegan and Sarah a lot. I've listened to them for a long time, but for whatever reason, it was just kind of this happenstance moment where we had their record on in the car, and it was like no shit, this is sitting right in front of you kind of moment. We were like, oh, okay, yeah, Tegan and Sarah, what about them? And so we reached out, we contacted their management and hit them up and basically just sent them the song and said, hey, we love you guys, we love the music. Would you like to be a part of this? And it was just kind of one of those nice moments where I guess they've listened to us a little bit as well, and there was that mutual little respect, and so they cut it, and it brought the song to life for me. It completely answered all the questions I had about it, and from that moment on, I was like, yeah, this absolutely belongs on the record, because to be honest, thematically and lyrically, in the context of the album gets kind of dark, and it's sort of about this character arc of someone hitting rock bottom and then finding their way out. And so that song actually became really important in being the turn, sort of the hopeful turn on the album. And so, yeah, they really kind of brought it home for us. They sort of carried the record to the end.
I mean, yeah, because that's just where I was going to go next in terms of the story arc and the lyrics behind the album. I mean, is it completely story driven, or was any of your own experience channeled into the lyrics as well?
No, I mean, a lot of it is personal experience. Whether it's myself or someone close to me or people I know. Most of it stems from experiences I've had playing music and playing in a band and living just a very disconnected, odd lifestyle. One that is really tumultuous, one that has a lot of ups and downs. It's very stop and start, and that can take you to really high highs, but also really low lows. And I thought that it was, it was a cool parallel, because I think in general, the journey of anyone growing up sort of mirrors that, no matter what walk of life you come from. And so I just felt like an interesting way to approach writing those topics, to be able to write very personally about things that, some people might not be able to relate to because they haven't spent 14 years touring, and, seeing people on drugs or struggling with depression or, homesickness or, just feeling generally disconnected because of being a million miles away from the people you love, things like that, things that people don't necessarily, directly relate to. It became a good way to tie those things to things that people do relate to in I guess, a more, normal lifestyle. And, doing it through the character allowed me to take some liberties. You know what I mean? I didn't have to be 100% on the nose with, what I was saying and what I was doing and what I was willing to divulge and what I was not willing to divulge and things like that. And I think it became a really good device for, like I said, just venting some personal information and personal feelings that maybe I wouldn't have been comfortable with writing or singing if it had been, today I did this, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's amazing. So on the kind of sonic side of things as well, we chatted about this again last time as well, but, we were chatting about songs like Dirty Laundry and Life of the Party working well on their own as singles, but kind of the main point of the album to be listened to as a proper body of work. I mean, was that a reaction in some ways to the instant nature of music in this day and age and people kind of not wanting to give that time and patience that albums deserve? Did you kind of want to try and bring that back with this album?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think some of it was sort of unintentional. It just kind of came to be that way. Like I said, I don't think when we set out making the record that was the plan. But it just sort of, things started falling into place, and the picture kind of became clearer the further down the road we went. But, there is a part of it that I'm really proud of in the fact that it's like, this is a body of work. And yeah, you can listen to a couple songs if you want, and that's fine. But, it was meant to be listened to, front to back a few times over to really like kind of process what's in there. And I think, what makes me happy about it is not, it's not this convoluted, like self-serving, look how good I am at crafting something amazing. Cause it's really not that. It's not meant to be a concept album. It's not meant to be grandiose. That was never the intention. And, to be honest, I don't think that's, really what All Time Low has ever been about. At the end of the day, we're sort of a fun rock band. But I will say that it was gratifying to have people come to me after the fact and say, people that I didn't expect to say it, to have people come to me and kind of go, wow, like, I didn't fully understand this at first. I wasn't sure where you're going with it. When I heard Dirty Laundry, I was confused. And then I listened to the record, 6, 8, 10 times, and I keep hearing new things and keep finding new things. And, I'm noticing how the songs connect and things like that. And that's really rewarding just in the sense that, that was the intention. That's what we put it in there for. And it's cool if a few people see it and get it, then that's our job done. So, it's exciting when those moments come to be, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, because it's telling, that whenever we put out the question on things like Twitter and Instagram, of like what are our readers or listeners' favourite albums of the year, it's been people in droves saying Last Young Renegade. Do you think, in that sense, and with all that considered, with there being so much going on, like you say, with people coming up to you and saying that the more they listen, the more things they're hearing, and it's revealing its secrets, the more they listen. Do you think that kind of suggests that people are very open-minded? Do you think there is a real open-mindedness in how people listen to music these days?
Absolutely. Across the board, I think, genre lines are blurring. The way people consume music has really opened everybody up to a lot of different, styles of music and sounds. And, I always kind of joke about the fact that I remember, like back when I was maybe 12, 13, I remember you really like, and part of it is just about being young, but like, I remember consuming music in a way that was like, I listened to one style of music, and if anybody found out that I also bought, the Backstreet Boys record, they'd call me a poser. You know what I mean? But like genuinely, I loved pop, I loved punk, I loved, reggae, there were all these genres that I listened to, but it wasn't okay for me to admit that I listened to those other ones if I wanted to listen to, whatever it was, punk or whatever. And I think this day and age, people are in no way bashful about, listening to a Bring Me the Horizon record followed by a, Taylor Swift record followed by a whatever, Khalid. It's like it all kind of goes hand in hand, and the way people process music is really exciting because of that. And I think you're seeing a lot of artists sort of bend genres because of it and try new things. And so it felt like the right time to go into it with that in mind, make a record for people that like listening to records and just put it out there for music fans, because I think music fans are more passionate than ever about what they're listening to. And, we wanted to do something that would serve the longtime fans as well. We needed to change things, and we needed to evolve and step forward creatively for the band. But, it was also putting something out there that was different for people that have been listening to us for all 7 records.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I mean, as well, listen back to it now, it's been with us for a considerable amount of time. People have been able to absorb the songs. Are you still very proud of it? Like, are you really, really proud of the risk that you took and the way it's paid off, kind of listening back? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the biggest thing is when we play the songs live, we're out on tour right now, just finishing up the European leg of the Young Renegades tour. And, it's been so amazing to see the kind of crossover of old fans, new fans, and how they're responding to the new music. We're playing a lot of new songs in the set. It's a long set, and I think, we played 5 or 6 new songs off a 10-song record. And just the fact that people are screaming along to those songs is really, it's rewarding, because that doesn't always happen. People sometimes get to record 7 and they're like, just play record 4. I feel very lucky that we're kind of in a place where the new songs are almost doing more for us live than some of the old stuff. And, that's a great place to be when you're in a band that has no intention of slowing down or stopping. We want to keep moving forward. Definitely, that's amazing. And with that said, going into the future, 2018 and beyond, obviously it's still early days as opposed to anything new or anything like that. But does Last Young Renegade hint as where All Time Low could go? Because, we've kind of touched on it already in our chats. But, I mean, does this kind of leave several or many doors wide open as to where you could go sound-wise? I think ultimately it leaves a lot of doors open. I don't know that we're in a place where we're gonna make another record that sounds like Last Young Renegade. I have no idea. It's too early to say. But what I do know is that our fan base has accepted something that's a bit different for us. People didn't balk at it, and people bought in. And to me, that says that All Time Low can continue to try new things and go down different roads, and that people are going to stick around and enjoy the ride with us. And I will say that makes the process that much more exciting and fun for us, because, you're not afraid of longevity at that point, because 10 years down the line, we could be doing something completely different. We won't be bored. We can keep things interesting and exciting. And it's, I'm very grateful that our fan base lets us do that. There are some, some artists that don't really have the ability to do that. And, I think we're very lucky in the sense that our fans give us a very wide lane to work in. So that was our very special chat with Alex Gaskarth of All Time Low, the creators of the rock sound album of the year, Last Young Renegade, an absolute classic in the making. Man, I can't believe this is the last chat. This has been an absolute journey. It's been a trip. It's been so exciting. We hope you guys out there have enjoyed it as much as we had. So before we go, final time, awards.rocksound.tv. Head over there right now to pick up your Rock Sound Award bundle and pick up one of or all 10 of our very special, exclusive, limited edition Rock Sound Awards covers featuring all 10 of our Rock Sound Awards winners. Also featuring exclusive interviews, photos, posters from their Rock Sound Awards cover shoots, a 2018 calendar, Rock Sound Awards sticker, the top 50 releases of 2017, so much more. The Roxanne Awards powered by emp.co.uk, awards.roxanne.tv. I just can't believe this is over now. It's been absolutely amazing. Talk to us. Let us know who's been your favourite interview. Let us know who's been your favourite band, your favourite category. Talk to us. Let us know everything. It's been great. 2017, it's been amazing. 2018, reckon we can match it? I reckon we can. Guys, we salute you. We'll see you then. All the best. Peace out.